Minister, thanks for joining us here. Can you tell us a bit about how this legislation will protect Indigenous languages?
Well, first of all, it's I would say more than a legislation. It's something absolutely fundamental to protect and to revitalize Indigenous languages. And has been worked with all national groups for 2 years, right? It's co-developed with the Inuit, with the Métis, with the First Nations. So the way it's going to happen is we're going to provide stable and long-term funding, and we're going to develop what the programs with the Indigenous people, because they know what they want. I'm not the one that's going to tell them what they should do, because their needs are different based on regions, on languages, this and that. But the objective at the end is to revitalize, to protect Indigenous languages. They are being lost very quickly.
So what type of funding and programs are we talking about?
Well, it's going to be stable and long term. So we're working on the numbers with the different groups, but we want to make sure that the money flows to the different communities based on their needs. This bill is fundamental because it answers 3 calls to action, 13, 14, and 15, based on Indigenous rights. It also advances UNDRIP, the United Nations Declaration on Indigenous Rights. So, and most importantly, we sat down for almost 2 years with the different group, sometimes on a daily basis, discussing with them, because it's about them. That bill is not for me. It's for Indigenous people, and most importantly for their children and grandchildren.
You mentioned sitting down with the groups, but Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami said that they were in no way part of putting this bill together and have spoken out against it. How do you respond to that?
Well, they were with us since day one working on this. They would like the bill to go a bit further, and as I said, my door is still open. It's always open, and it will always be. So the bill is going to a committee. It's going to be debated, discussed at a committee. We keep meeting with them. But first, you need a bill. If you want to improve it, you need the bill. You need to table it. And so the bill has been tabled. Next week, it's starting at committee. I'm there for an hour. Mm-hmm. And as the bill advances in Parliament, we're still discussing with all groups to see how we can improve it, how can we add more things inside. But without a bill to start with, we can't do anything.
So there's still time to have changes and still get this legislation passed and through committees and Senate?
Yes, because it's an absolute priority for us, and I hope we'll get the support of all the parties, but it's a priority for the Prime Minister, for myself, the government, and I would say all Indigenous people across the country. So many languages have been lost already, so now it's time we draw a line, we say it's enough, we start revitalizing, protecting the languages for future generations.
There are some who feel that this is a symbolic gesture and wonder why not give official language status.
Well, it's definitely not just symbolic, because again, it's a clear answer to 3 of the calls to action. 13, 14, 15. It creates the office of a commissioner that will tell us if we're doing the right thing or not, give us recommendations. There will be, again, long-term stable funding. The solutions will be decided by the Indigenous people themselves. Some may decide they go right away to education, others through producing books, dictionaries. I mean, there's so many solutions, but it's up to the different groups to tell us what to do, because they know better.
And so you haven't heard from the groups what type of funding there needs to be, stable funding?
Well, we're discussing with them, but we'll make sure that the funding is there. And actually, it's a commitment. It's in the bill. It's very rare. I don't remember seeing a bill where the government commits in that bill long-term and stable funding. I've never seen that.
But no actual firm number, I guess. So
it will come soon.
You're someone who speaks a number of languages yourself. What does it say to you that many of these languages, all these languages, were once outlawed by this country?
It's awful. It's awful, and it's. There's no name to describe what has been done by a succession of government to the Indigenous people. It's a cultural genocide. The fact that kids were not able to speak their language, that they were either ashamed or forbidden or punished because they would do so, and the languages would be lost. I came here when I was 8. I didn't only spoke Spanish. I learned French and English after that. But I cannot imagine if somebody would have told me, okay, from now on you just speak English and French and you forget Spanish. No, because Spanish is who I am also, right? And it's the same thing for the different languages, for the different indigenous group. We have to do something now.
Well, Minister, it's an important bill, and we look forward to seeing how it progresses, and appreciate you taking some time here.
Thank you for
today.
having me. Thank you very much.